All right. So one of the things that I really want to make clear to you and to everybody else is that the X is not algebra. So, when we have this X and we have this Y, we call it a variable. You might be wondering what the hell it means. Here's what it means. Like, just imagine X marks the spot. Like, imagine I have a table. This is literally a table in my office. It's a placeholder for something that you could put there. What could you put
Right.
on there? Have fun. List me a bunch of stuff you could put on there.
You could put a book, you could put a cup, you could put a pen, you could put a shoe, you could put anything, really.
Yeah, correct. Terrific. Agreed. And let's imagine, okay, it could support any weight. Let's say you can also put an elephant, right? So let's just make allowances for that. It's just a spot, but
Sure.
we're not going to limit the number of things we could put based on whether or not it could fit or support the weight. So just figure that one out. So imagine if one of the items, pick one that you mentioned a moment ago. You listed a bunch of stuff. Just choose one.
A shoe.
A shoe. All right. You could put a shoe on there and silently just place it on the X and just walk away, not say a thing. You agree? You don't have to say anything?
Yes.
All right, cool. But you could say something about the shoe as well, right? You agree?
Yes.
Like, you could say something. All right, so say something about a shoe. Say something truthful about it. The shoe
Leather.
it's leather. All right, cool. Leather. So we can say something about the shoe. So here's a little kind of thought, a little dialogue bubble is made of leather. And notice that you can say this about the object that you put on the side. So you put the shoe, and you can say is made of leather. So far, so good?
Yes.
All right, so you stop me if anything seems opaque. Now, right now what we're looking at actually has nothing on it. Like, you don't actually have the shoe. So you can imagine if I said X is made of leather, you could put the shoe there, but what else could you put?
Well, any of the other objects we mentioned, you could put a pen, you could put, an elephant or what have you.
All right, let's say I put a pen. All right, let's say I put a pen. Would the claim pen is made of leather be true or false? So subject predicate, if I say pen is made of leather, would that be true or false? So we could still say though, the pen is made of leather. You can say that. It's not a problem. Like I just did, right? You agree? I can say falsehoods as easily as I can say truths.
Absolutely, yeah.
Imagine now, I actually want you to find things that match the description that I put in the dialogue bubble. So if you give me a pen, I'm like, no, it doesn't match. So now find something else. Put something else that's going to fit the description is made of leather, for which when we speak out the whole thing, like if you were to have this part and that part, the whole thing would be true. So give me another object.
A jacket.
A jacket. Absolutely. Terrific. All right. So here I am. I'm going to put the jacket. I'm going to draw it. Here's my jacket. All right. Here you go. That's the jacket. Jacket is made of leather. And we could do this for any number of things. We could do it for the shoe. There you go, a leather sofa. So here's a sofa, right? There's any number of things we can put on there. And then that's just the subject predicate distinction. So here's the subject, here's the predicate. And by predicate, I only mean the following. So there's nothing spookier. It's just something that can be said of multiple things. Like is made of leather, that's something that's true of lots of things. Like it's true of jackets, right? It's true of shoes. It's true. So here's a shoe, right? I can say is made of leather, is made of leather. A shoe is made of leather. A jacket's made of leather. A sofa is made of leather. What we mean by predicate, so this part here in the dialogue bubble, is nothing fancier than something that could be said of multiple things. So when I say X is made of leather, in our notation, of course, this would be what? So in a notation that we learned, we'd have the X, and where would I put the L, and would it be capital, or how would I do this? How would I?
So if we were to say made of leather, we would say, so the L would go to the left,
Yeah. And would it be
and
a small
then
L or a capital L?
capital.
That's right. So LX, all
Yeah.
that means is this X here, right, is made of leather. That's all it means. Now, what's there right now? Right now on the screen, nothing.
Nothing.
Right? But there could be something potentially, right? And if you're then going to go a step beyond, you could do this. Now you can start quantifying over this stuff, and you could do the following moves. You can do all, or you can do some. So now imagine you put an X. What's the X? Something. You can put something. You can say that is made of leather. And if I don't have enough to make a claim. I have the subject I have the predicate, I have the thing, I have the thing I'm going to say about the thing. So here's the thing, here's the what I'm going to say about the thing, and now I need to make a decision. Do I want to say all or some X? If I say all X is made of leather, that's a very, very strong claim. That means if I go around in the universe, and that's the universal quantifier, so you can think about going around the entire universe, everything I find has to show up and be made of leather. It has to be true each time. So for instance, I could find a boot, I could put it on there and it's made of leather, but if I take an apple, would I run into problems?
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. All right. So the thing is, you can say for all X, what's X? Spot there. What you're going to find is something of which it is true to say that it is made of leather. You can make that claim, but it's such a strong claim, and it's most likely going to turn out false. There's very few things of which you can say it, ranges over everything. I just have to reach for the nearest counterexample, and it's dead. How many counterexamples would it need to defeat this claim?
One
and done. Like if I take my empty gum and I put it there, I say, pow, see, you told me that if I went around the entire universe, because you circled the all, that if I put it on the X, it would be true of it that it is made of leather. Now that worked out great because the first thing I picked was a boot. And it also worked out great because the second thing I reached for was a jacket. But it didn't take very long for me to find a plant, and I put it in there, and it was false. And you know what? Plant's all I need to show that what you said is wrong. It's intelligible. I understood what you said, but then I followed through on your request, like the cosmic concierge. I went around. You asked that, go find the world, scour the whole universe. Everything you'll find will be made of leather. Leather for all X. X is made of leather. And you know what? That's a false claim. But you made the claim nevertheless, and it was intelligible. It was intelligible, and you can model it. So if I write it in English, I'd say everything is made of leather. That's how you would write it. So if you had to sort of write this out, of course, no one says that because it's silly. It's false. Everything is made of leather. But if you had to say everything is made of leather, that's what you would say. And the symbolization would be for all things. Put it on that X, you'll see it's made of leather. We're not going to bracket the question of truth or falsehood. That would be the correct symbolization of this. So far, so clear?
Yes.
Cool. All right. It's intuitive. All right. So so this all stuff didn't work. All right. So fair enough. So we're going to backtrack, and we're going to say instead of saying all, how about we say some? And when we say some, we mean there is at least one. Now that's a very different claim. What I'm saying is some, so there is at least one X, so there is at least one. And then I put something here. How many things would I have to put to show that the claim that there is at least one something is made of leather? How many things would I have to put on the X? That satisfies
at least one.
At least one. So if I put the boot, am I good?
Yep.
One and done, right? If I put the damn boot, I've shown that the claim is true, right? And so the way we would symbolize this, right? So it's like there exists at least one X such that this X is made of leather. And notice here, it's much, much weaker. Just as all was super, super strong, this is so timid. It's like at least one. Clearly, you and I, we both know there's lots of things that are made of leather. Earlier I was naming, we could have gone on and on and on. But it's just literally the lowest you can go. And the moment there's at least one, let's say I really do agree to the truth of the claim that, I'm going to underline the whole thing, that there is at least one thing you could put here that is made of leather. Does leather exist? Do I put it in my ontology?
Yes.
Like things are made of leather? Yeah, it's totally, it's in the mix now. And that's, that's the step of Quine's method is, whatever would be the thing that you plug in here as the value of the X, if you consider this whole thing to be true, that's the thing. That's the thing you want to say in the world exists. At least one thing is made of leather. And that's why it's called the existential quantifier, because the moment you got one, it exists. It's not like, here's a second thing of leather. Oh, leather exists even more. Here's a third thing of leather. Man, it's gaining in existence. Because remember when we did one of our first classes in ontology, we said that existence is an all or nothing thing. It either exists or it doesn't exist. It doesn't come in degrees. Remember that? We have those 4 species. Yeah. So existence doesn't come in degrees. So you have one, it doesn't exist even more. It just exists. You're the one and done. And so this would be the claim. Earlier I typed everything is made of leather. And now this would be the claim, right? That something is made of leather. And as much as I would want to recoil from the previous thing that I said because of its implausibility, this is something I would subscribe to. And if it is true, I think we would not dispute that it's true, then that means the universe has to have a thing of which it can be truthfully said that it is made of leather. It has to have, you shouldn't come up empty. If this is a true claim and I send you on an errand, you might have to look far and wide to put the thing on the X, but you won't come up empty-handed because there is at least one. You should find it. In principle, you should find it. It exists. It's out there. The X-Files, the truth is out there, right? You should find one. So now notice we haven't used any of our connectives yet. So remember we have a bunch of connectives that we've learned. So you have conjunction, disjunction, so and, or, if then, is equivalent to, or if and only if you're a philosopher, but no one says that apart from philosophers, right? And then not. We haven't used any of those things, but we might have to use them, and we'll gradually introduce them in the mix. But so far, what I've introduced here are just the subject, the predicate, and the quantifier. Subject, predicate, quantifier. And as soon as I have these 3 necessary and sufficient ingredients, I get to make a proposition. And a proposition just is the sort of string of concepts that's sufficiently developed that you can say of it whether it's true or false. Notice if you go back here, right? If I don't have an existential quantifier, if all I have is X is made of leather, something being made of leather, I haven't actually asserted that there is such a thing yet. Like I don't have I haven't made that commitment. The equivalent to this would be the following, right? I'm going to put a lowercase m actually just to make it clear that this is not a sentence that's asserting something being made of leather. I haven't actually said that anything fits that description. Something being made of leather. Right? It's conceivable. Like it's one of those things that's sufficiently developed that you and I can conceive it, but I haven't backed it up. I haven't asserted that there's actually something that fits that description. Likewise, I can say all sorts of things. I could say something capable of phasing through walls. And you know exactly what I mean when I say that. Imagine something that's capable of phasing through walls. I'm not saying that there is such a thing, but we can just think of something that we haven't even defined. I don't know what would phase through walls, like the superhero Vision from Marvel's, like the Marvel movies, he phases through walls. But like whatever you can imagine, nothing specific, just the idea of something phasing through walls or something being made of leather. There's no quantifier here, so it's not yet a proposition. It's intelligible, the concepts are conceivable, but I haven't made an assertion yet. There's no backing up. I haven't made a move in a language game where I'm describing the world and taking a chance. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what that would mean. So if I say this, what that means is something is made of, it means something being made of leather. And I'm saying being made of, but just because I want to show how wishy-washy there's no commitment. That's a very, very different animal than this. If I say that something is made of leather, I say there exists at least one, right? That's way more committal now. I've actually made an existential commitment. I've actually bet that you'll find something, at least one. But notice that you need this part in order for that to become an assertion. So if you've done language and meaning, assertoric force. When you speak it out loud, you commit yourself in the community to the claim that you made, right? And then you stand or fall by it. Like if I circle this as opposed to that, the all or the some makes a huge distinction, huge difference. I'm foolish if I circle the all, and I'm commonsensical, and it's almost a truism if I circle the some, and there's consequences that attach with that. But there's no consequences that attach with just saying something being made of leather. But we're able to do that. It's perfectly fine. That's one of the possibilities. If you can learn predicate logic, there's going to be moments when you're doing your derivations and your proofs, these things are going to float around, and they're going to be unbound variables. So we'll say this variable right now is not bound. That means there's no quantifier in front of it that's telling you all or some. No one's specified. We haven't put the sheet at all here. We haven't specified. So what we're looking at is an unbound variable. We're not haven't made a commitment as to what's going to happen in here. No one's actually said whether or not we'll find something that fits the description. Whereas here, someone's made a commitment. Someone's made a bet. Someone's bet that you will find something. You're not going to come up empty-handed. You'll have at least one thing that you put in here. So that's the difference. That comes with this. That comes with this. So far, so clear?
Yep.
All right, so let's move up a notch. I can also say, like, let's go back to, what do we have? A boot earlier, right?
Yep.
Let's go back to our boot, right? Let's put a boot here. Let's imagine that I say that there's at least some X that is made of leather, and I want to make sure that the whole thing comes out as true. Let's stay on a kind of truth-seeking direction here for a moment. Same X on this side, same X on that side, right? So if I put it here, whatever I'm going to put on the left side, and I have got an N, I have to be able to put it on the other side and truthfully say of it some second thing. So why don't you give me another thing that we could say? Let's imagine the boot. What else could we say about the boot?
Has laces.
Has laces.
I don't know. No, boots don't. Do boots? Yeah, you could. Yeah,
sure. Boots have laces. All right, cool. So if I say there's at least one X such that this X is made of leather and same thing, same object, she's going to move it from the table from that spot to the other spot, has laces. Can I put the jacket on the X? Our leather jacket from...
Yes, for that X you can, but yeah.
But now I'm saying, and this is where the parentheses, because you had mentioned parentheses, this is where the parentheses come in. When I'm talking about some X, I'm talking about the same X all throughout. It ranges over, it distributes that quantifying power, some X, talks about the same thing. When I say and, it has to have both things. Has to have both. It's true of it that it's made of leather, and it's true of it that it has laces. And notice, because I've got the parentheses, right? So just so we're clear on this, these are parentheses, right? Because everything's in the parentheses and you've got your and over here, it has to satisfy both predicates. So the boots would make the cut, but the jacket wouldn't. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
The jacket would do great for one thing. So you put the jacket over here. All right, that's one half of what I need to do. So I've got a request here. I'm the cosmic concierge. My wealthy client told me, get me something, I don't care what, that is made of leather and has laces. And I grabbed this jacket and I'm like, cool, that's the jacket. So far, so good. But I need, if you've done truth tables, you know that both conjuncts have to be true in order for the entire conjunction to be true, right? So both have to be the case. And in this situation, I have a situation where this would be false. If I put the jacket over here and I ask of the jacket whether it's true that it has laces, so the jacket has laces, that would come out as false. And if it comes out as false in one side, then the whole thing has to come out as false. All right, so this is what we mean when we have the and sign. So that didn't work for jackets, but would it work for boots? Let's try.
Yes.
Yeah, put my boot here. Boot, terrific. It's made of leather. Then I just move the boot over here, right? Same boot. It's the same X. It has laces, and I can truthfully say of it two things, namely that it is made of leather. So when I put it here, I was truthfully saying of it that it is made of leather. And when I put it on the other side, I can truthfully say of it that it has laces. And the claim said, if you can truthfully say of at least one thing that this thing is made of leather, horrible problem now. It's got laces, starts with an L. Let's say I'm going to call this M instead, made of leather. I'm going to kind of weasel out of the situation. We'll say M is the letter for the predicate is made of leather and has laces. And then I have to put all of that in brackets. And this is where it's important. If I don't put it in brackets, what I'm saying is something very different. Now I've got the brackets. That captures what I'm doing. Imagine I didn't put the brackets. I'd be saying there's at least one thing that's made of leather and having laces in the same nondescript manner I talked about earlier. So my sentence now, if I had this without the brackets, would be saying something really strange, right? I'd be saying something is made of leather, and I'm using M here for made of leather, right? Made of leather, and just so that's our conjunction, right? Having laces. That doesn't make a ton of sense. Oopsie. All right, here we go. Having laces. How's my tool? I'm trying to work within the. I'm going to retype it. But the idea is, you see, there would be no existential commitment to this here if I don't put my brackets. It's just that same generic sense that I spoke about a moment ago when I was saying that you can just say about something being made of leather without actually committing yourself with the quantifier. So I need the brackets around the entire expression to capture the idea of something that is both made of leather and having laces. You see that?
Yes.
We can also do or. Let's go back and circle. Let's have some fun. I'm going to say there's at least one thing, and then we're going to have our brackets, because notice this is going to range over the whole table, right? This flyer here ranges over the whole table. I'm going to say is made of leather, or was used in World War II. All right. Let's imagine it's the knife that stabbed Hitler. I'm making up a knife here. And I put it on the table. Is the claim as a whole true or false? Well, looking at only this side so far, this junk, is it made of leather? Let's imagine the handle's made of pure metal.
No.
No. All right. So that's not working out. But no problem. I said or. And how many disjuncts do you need to be true for the entire disjunction to be true?
One.
One. You only need one of the disjuncts to be true for the whole disjunction to be true. So it only needs to be true of one of the things. It's either or the other. All right, cool. Let's move our thing. We're going to put it over here. This is the knife that stabbed Adolf Hitler. Was it used in World War II?
Yep.
And so the claim that there exists at least one X such that this X is either made of leather. It doesn't say it is. It's one or the other. Could be both too, because it's the inclusive sense of or. Let me put my chevron in the right sense. The inclusive sense of or it was used in World War II, gets satisfied. There has to be what has to be in the world in our ontology for us to truthfully, for this claim to be true. Like step one is we want to say this is a true claim. And by the way, I think this is a true claim. There's at least one thing such that this thing is either made of leather or it was used in World War II. This would count as step one of my method in Quine's method. I'm listing all the things I think are true. And then I have to commit myself to a universe in which I should come up with at least one thing. And here we go, at least one thing in at least one respect, because I said or, and we can truthfully say of it that it was used in World War II. But now let's circle instead of some, all. Anything you find in the universe that'll either be made of leather or it'll have been used in World War II. Can you envision for me a counterexample? So you want, let's say, for the disjunction as a whole to come out as false, both sides have to be false. Why don't you describe to me one object? If you really wanted to show me wrong, that's the claim I made, what would you put in here, right, to show me wrong? What would you put on the X?
I could put my phone in there.
Hey, go ahead. There you go. So you put your phone. And the moment you put your phone, you've shown that it's not made of leather, so that's false. And you've shown that it wasn't used in World War II. And you've shown that my claim is false. But you understood what to look for precisely because it was intelligible when I said that for all things in the universe, all X's, whatever X's you would put, anything you would put on here, that's what the X is. It's not algebra. For all of those things, right, it'll be either made of leather or, other way around the chevron, or used in World War II. And of course, counterexamples to that particular claim abound, but it's perfectly intelligible to symbolize it like that. And if we had to put it in English, everything is made of leather and or was used in World War II or both. That's on the face of it false, but that's the proper symbolization of it. And notice how we've got a universal quantifier, our variable x, which just stands for whatever you put on the table, predicates, things you could say of the thing you put on the x, and there's multiple things you could say on the thing on the x. And here we're stringing those multiple things with a very permissive or, at least one of them has to be the case. But no matter how permissive it is, you could still find a counterexample, so long as you can come up with a situation where it escapes both of those things. So far, so clear?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's have some more fun now. Earlier, when I said if you have an X, you just move the object from one spot to the other. Like, I don't know what you're going to put in here, right? But if it's an X on this side of the table, whatever you're going to put on this side of the table has to be not that. So we're going to agree to this convention that X is not equal to Y. So whatever X is, Y is not it. And you can literally make that explicit in predicate logic, right? You can go ahead and you can say that's the sign of identity. X is identical to Y. You can bracket that and you can decide to make that explicit. You use your tilde. It's not the case that X is identical to Y. We don't read this as equal. We read this is identical to. So we'll have as a kind of a convention that when I have Y, all I mean by Y is something else. So if X means something, don't know which, right? Particular we care not which. X is another particular we care not which, just not the X. So having said this, now we can have fun with a slightly more complicated sentence that's going to use a conditional. So an if then. Well, let's have a look. We're going to have quantifiers that are going to have to bind specifically the X and the Y. Because if we're going to make a full claim, we're going to need all the ingredients. We're going to need subject. We're going to need predicate. Multiple predicates, multiple subjects if you're going to say something more complicated. And if you have multiple subjects and predicates, you're going to have to connect them. But at minimum, you need the following ingredients: subject, predicate, and you're going to have to bind those with a quantifier. You're going to have to make some sort of commitment as to whether or not there is such a thing, and so on. So that's going to go here. So those are all our ingredients. Let's have some fun, and let's say something truthful. And I'm going to start us off by saying, is a human. I'm going to plug this here. How's this? He's a kidney. It's clever. All right, let's have some fun again. So I say there exists at least one X such that if what you're putting on there is a human, HX, then you should be able to put on here, and it would be a gruesome thing, because you'd probably have to open up that human, but you should be able to put on this other spot a kidney. And I need also an existential I missed an existential quantifier. I need to quantify my Y. So here we go, because I had circled it over here, some Y. So there's at least one Y, one thing Y on the spot. There's at least one you'll find. And there's at least one you'll find over here, such that if you can in point of fact put something here of which it is true to say that it is a human, then I'm guaranteeing you that you'll be able to say truthfully about some other thing that you'll put in here that you'll successfully find that it is a kidney. And that's a true claim, by the way. Yeah, so because, I mean, look, I'm pretty confident if you can find a human, you found a kidney. Agreed?
Yes.
It's inside. Like I said, it'd be pretty gruesome, a demonstration. You put the human over here, right? All right, cool. I found at least one. How many humans have to be on the earth for this for you to successfully put something on this X?
At least one.
At least one, right? Could be you. You could just sit there. And the claim, if it's true, means that if you've satisfied the antecedent of that conditional, if the condition's been met, then you can go on and check. So let's have some fun here. Let's go throughout the world and let's find some stuff. Oh, I put an apple here. I'm putting an apple on the first side. Okay, let's put an apple. I've got my arrows already here. I put an apple. Should I even bother to proceed checking here?
Because
it's not even a human. I haven't met the condition. Yeah. Let's keep moving on. If I want to make this claim true, I'm going to have to find something that fits the description. So I find a cat. I put a cat here. I put the cat. Cats have kidneys, by the way. So if I were to put it over here, right, I could probably remove a kidney from it. I could get this part to be true, but we got a problem here, right? It hasn't met the condition. I said, if it's a human, then it'll have a kidney. So got to keep looking. And I find the professor of metaphysics. I put him on here. Good. He fits the description. He's a human. If it is true of this thing that it is a human, this thing on this X, then it should be true on this other side that it is a kidney. So I go ahead and I cut him up. Let me use my red. I take out his kidney and I put the kidney here. On the left hand, you have a human. On the right hand, a human with a kidney inside. And on the other hand, you have just a kidney. Okay? And you should be able to find at least one thing that satisfies the description given in Y is a kidney. So that's why we think this is a true claim. You see that? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's part-whole relations here that are kind of fun because the kidney was inside the human. So one of the reasons why I'm so confident that if you find a human, then you'll have a kidney is because one, like Russian dolls, one is contained in the other. And then what we can do is we can go back to what we were doing a moment ago. Let me just share screen what we were doing a moment ago. When I say all buildings are skyscrapers, I mean, look around the whole world. Now, if it doesn't meet the condition of being a building, skip. So put on the X and apple, skip. Put U, pass. Put the boot, pass. All these things, we cannot truthfully say of them that they are buildings. So remember the left-hand side of my table? Pass, pass. Oh, now we put a building. If this statement is true and all buildings are skyscrapers, I should be able to truthfully say of something that qualifies as a building, that is a skyscraper.
Got it.
Yeah. And if I said this, let's have some fun now, and let's make another sentence. For all X, X is B, and X is S. What does this say in English? As implausible as it may be.
It says for all buildings.
Read it literally, for all X. So what would I say for all X? So what would that mean? So earlier we had some or all.
Okay, so for all things that are buildings, they are skyscrapers.
That's this.
Okay.
This is saying something else. I'll get you started.
Everything is a building and a skyscraper.
You got it. It snapped into place. Everything
okay.
is a building and a skyscraper. And of course, that's why that's a silly thing to say, because that's manifestly false. There's counterexamples all around us. So some buildings are skyscrapers. Yeah. All buildings are skyscrapers, a little stronger. This is ridiculously strong. It's saying everything. So remember, really take this seriously. This is recommending you to search the whole universe, and no condition or limit has been placed. When you embed it as the antecedent of a conditional, it's like you're placing a condition. On the condition that what you have in front of you satisfies this, then it ought to satisfy this. Because that's what a if then means. You can say if ... then, but you can call it a conditional precisely because it says on the condition that, and then plug in your condition, the following should be the case, and then 2 dots. You see that?
Yeah.
You have to meet that condition before this other thing over here on the condition that, and you have to satisfy that condition. In other words, affirm the antecedent of the conditional. If we used to use language of logic, that's what I would say. You need to affirm the antecedent of the conditional in order to unlock the consequent. The entire thing is just stating the relation between these two things without committing to the actual existence of something that satisfies that condition. So if I say here, on the condition that you find something that truthfully you could say of it that it is a building, then you will discover that it is also that is a skyscraper. This is saying, look at the whole world, and there's no prior condition that's been imposed. Whatever you're going to put, you put anything on the X, you'll find that it's a building, and you'll also find that it's a skyscraper. And of course, everything is a building and a skyscraper. That's false. That's a false claim. By the way, what about this? So this is false. All buildings are skyscrapers. True or false?
False.
False. Agreed. What counterexample do you have in mind?
My house is not a skyscraper.
Beautiful. Some buildings are skyscrapers. True or false?
True.
True. I agree. Like, what do you have in mind when you think about that?
CN Tower.
Some building, you need at least one. CN Tower, there you go. It's certainly a skyscraper. What if I say this? All sky, I'm going to move this around now. I say all skyscrapers are buildings. True or false?
All skyscraper. True.
True. Agreed. True. And here's the thing now. So we have these claims here. I'm just going to line them up so that we can see them. We'll line them up. Hold on if we can line them. All skyscrapers are buildings. We have one more that we need to symbolize here. Jaden, you're getting good at this stuff. Why don't you help me out? How would I symbolize this? It shouldn't be spooky at all at this stage.
For all x bracket, SX, and then conditional BX.
You got it.
Right.
So for all the things in the world that you could put on that X, if that X truly is a skyscraper, if you can satisfy that description, it is true of it that the thought bubble applies, then you'll also find that it is a building. Some buildings are skyscrapers. True. All buildings are skyscrapers. False. Actually, I'm going to color code this. Not only am I going to put it in bold, I'm also going to color code it. So true in green. True in green. All skyscrapers are buildings. True. Everything is a building and a skyscraper. False. So in step 1 of Quine's method, which of these claims would we want to retain?
The first one.
Yeah. And what else?
The second one.
No, it's false.
Oh, sorry. So, brain fart again. I meant that I was looking
problem,
right at the third one.
Remember, step 1 says gather all your sentences you take to be true. So these have got
I was thinking of true and true. Yeah.
No worries. You want the second true. So we ditch the false ones. We keep the true ones. Step 2 is put them in here, right? So we're going to ditch these here. Let's just ditch these. We don't want this over here. We don't want that over here. That was needless. Then we, in step 2, translate them into this. So there exists at least one thing such you'll put it on the table, and the thing out in the world, it has to be extra linguistic. The thing you put on the X has to be the damn thing. It's not like an X. It's something that you put on top of the X, a real thing, right? It should be true of it. You have at least one of which you'll be able to truthfully say that it's a building and a skyscraper. And it says, go through the whole world. It's, oh, watch out, handle with care. What do you talk about here? All. Well, look, I'm not that crazy because I said that on the condition that I place the condition, so it's going to constrain the range of things now, not to the whole world, but to the subset of things in the universe that are skyscrapers. If you put those here, each and every one of those you'll find out is also a building. And that's Quine's method. And then step 3 just consists in saying, what do I think exists? Anything that would actually, I could put on the X. Anything that I think I could actually put on the X. And by that, I mean the extra linguistic things out there. That's where metaphysics isn't just philosophy of language or epistemology. Like the damn things out there in the world that you could put on there. And then step 4 would be, if you're not happy with the things you think have to be out there in the world, paraphrase. And we don't feel the need to paraphrase here because I think everything is fine. Jaden, you came here for some elucidation, some clarification, to do some logic. Is this snapping into place?
Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Good. And I take it that this was it is a little hard on my brain and yours as well, but I feel like it's once you demystify the components, they're not spooky. And once they're not spooky and they mean something, this is super crucial. Otherwise, they're just Egyptian hieroglyphics and you're manipulating them to please your prof, but they don't mean anything to you. If what we've succeeded in doing today is that now you go back to your homework, but these symbols mean something to you. You can remember the table. You can remember the little thought bubble. You can remember what we're committing to when we're quantifying over them, circle to all or circle to some. And you can remember that the thing we're going to place on the X is in algebra. The Y is in algebra. It's a placeholder for stuff you could put on top, like real things that for real, silently if you had to. Like place something on that X, right? That's when you understand how the metaphysical machinery works that we're learning in this first part. There's at least one thing such that this thing is a student and this thing is confused. If there's at least one, and you only need one to be the case, then we'll sort that out. And who satisfies the description? You sit on the X, right? And at the end of the day, hopefully we can change this too. There is at least one X such that this X is a student, and this X is, bring it home for me, Jaden.
Not confused.
Amen. Amen, bump knuckles.